briefed effectively by all the 14 county security teams in Rift Valley. We have received information, status reports on what is going on in each of the counties, their level of preparedness and what has gone on, and we are all satisfied and happy about the work that is going on. Secondly, we have been briefed by our colleagues from the National Police Service on that incident of rivulets, and I believe you know by now that the police have got 8 suspects or 8 persons of interest in custody in connection with the circulation of those rivulets. We hope that some of those will be taken to court today, and investigations continue on that matter. We are here, and that's why I think this opportunity is important to assure the country and assure all residents of Rift Valley that we are fine. Rift Valley is secure, it's quiet. We don't have evidence of anything that should worry anyone here. We have teams on the ground that have been working here for a long time. We are collecting intelligence in real time. That's why we were able to very quickly arrest 8 suspects in connection with the circulation of the leaflets. In addition to that, however, I need to confirm to the residents of Rift Valley that the National Security Council has ordered additional security resources for this region. And so you are going to see increased deployment and patrol of more of our GSU teams here. We are placing more personnel on the ground here in Molo, in Kuresoi, in Nesuit, in a number of places around here, just to be ready. They are not here for any particular aggression. They are here to assure Wananchi and to demonstrate to Wananchi that we are ready to rise up to any challenge that may come up. We are going to deploy additional personnel in Eldoret, in Uasin Gishu, and we are going to increase our surveillance and patrol along, the borders of this region and the neighboring regions. And so Wananchi should be calm and confident that we will go ahead with the elections without a problem. We are totally ready. We have sufficient resources. We are going to deploy additional area resources to enable our police teams to move around this region effectively and to be able to fly to places where there are challenges, or if any challenge arises, that is. I don't think there will be, but in case there is any challenge, our security teams will be able to move around this region without a problem, without any inhibition. We have deployed additional resources, additional vehicles, and so on and so forth. I would like finally to assure our people that, first of all, we've had a fairly peaceful campaign season. You can all agree that for the last several months during the campaigns and so on, we have had a very peaceful time. We've had very unfortunate remarks and comments being made here and there, but that's fine. The country has been calm, and we would like to remain this way during this period, on 9th and after 9th. As I've said so many times before, we are ready as the security sector players to provide support to the IBC to conduct the general elections on the 9th. We are ready totally to do this, and we have sufficient resources. Every Kenyan, whether they live in the Rift Valley or elsewhere in the country, need to understand one thing. They are free to go and vote. They should wake up in the morning on 9th and exercise their democratic right to vote without intimidation, without fear of any kind. And they have nothing to fear because we have sufficient resources, we are sorted out, and we are totally ready to support and work with them as they go about these activities. Our brothers and sisters on the campaign trail, I think many of them have traversed this country across the board, and they have been all over holding public meetings. And we thank the Lord that we haven't had any serious incident as such, and we have remained calm. Now we are on the home stretch. We're coming to the end of the campaign season. We urge them to be more responsible in their utterances, to think about the country, and to remember that, there will be Kenya after 9th of August. 9th is not the end of the world, and it's not the end of Kenya. So everyone needs to be responsible in the manner in which they conduct themselves, and the kind of things they say. Finally, two things. One, we have set up a multi-agents command center in Nakuru that will be operating on a 24/7 basis. The regional commissioner is going to make all this information available to the press. There are phone numbers there. And we have asked all the county security teams in the Rift Valley to also equally form command centers, and the information on the phone numbers and all that will be made available to the public. So that should there be any need to engage with the police, or should there be any need for any member of the public to draw attention to anything, they can actually make a call to any one of those centers and give us the information we need, and we will respond immediately. We are ready and prepared to respond immediately. We have agreed with the teams here that the turnaround time in terms of responses from those command centers should be, as little as minutes, so that we're able to answer and deal with any issues that come up in any one of part of our country. So we are ready to do this. And then finally, we will continue to conduct the investigations on this issue of the rivulets. I don't think there's anything that we need to be worried about. We trust our police officers in the work they are doing, and they will continue to carry on that investigation. However, I must caution our political leaders that we have decided that this year we are not going to behave like we have done sometimes in some cases before, where events happen, and if there is need for prosecution, we do not have sufficient information. Our security teams are now under firm instructions to ensure that we document, and I repeat, we document accurately and effectively every action, we record the utterances and everything else, so that should there be need for prosecution in future as we go along on some of these things. And I can tell from some of the utterances that are being made around that it's going to be almost impossible to avoid prosecution on some of the claims that are being made by political leaders. We will be ready as a security sector to provide evidence to sustain prosecution for crimes that are being conducted by leaders. So people need to be very careful about some of the things they're saying, because we will be very responsible public officers, and we will avail whatever information we have, whatever recordings we have, and whatever information we gather in relation to some of these, utterances and activities. We've done so well so far. We are just days away from polling day. I want to ask our leaders, please exercise a sense of restraint. Think about the country. Think about the language and the words that you're using before you speak out to the public. We do not want to ban our country just because there's an election next week. That's all I can say at the moment. But again, to assure every Mwananchi who lives in Rift Valley, we are ready. We have staffed up. We have sufficient resources. We're moving around. You will see between now and Tuesday next week increased patrol and increased presence of our security officers, especially the GSU. Don't worry, they are just there to look after you. They are there to make sure that you are fine, that you can exercise your democratic right without a problem. And we have opened these command centers in all counties so that you can report any incident, or you can raise any particular issue you need to raise. You can also even speak directly to the regional command center in Nakuru, and we'll be able to answer whatever questions you ask or come to you if you need us to. That is it all, and thank you so much, my colleagues. And thank you, friends, for coming out during this very chilly morning. I'm grateful, and I continue to thank our security officers in this region. As I said, our regional security team has done very well, and our security teams have risen up spectacularly to every challenge that we have dealt with in this particular region. Somebody asked me yesterday about the curfew in Kerio Valley. I am not lifting the curfew. Like I said, the curfew is going to be for 45 days. It will remain in force. And you can see clearly how many guns we have collected and the activities that have gone there and how the place has been peaceful. We are going to sustain it and ensure that it remains that way until all Wananchi in that area vote, and until we collect all the guns that we must collect that are in wrong hands. And then we'll maintain other security operations in other areas and keep the peace. In Marsabit, that's what we are going to do. We are not going to lift the curfew. We want it. In any case, Wananchi themselves are telling us, please don't. Let's remain the way we are until after the general elections and until we have completed the exercise that we are doing there of mopping up illegal firearms from the wrong hands. Thank you very much. If I wasn't holding a public office, I would use very strong language. But I am conscious of the responsibilities I hold. And you know, in matter securities, we must have adults in the room, otherwise we'll ban the country. I cannot speak the way some of our irresponsible political leaders are speaking. First of all, the claim that chiefs are being met or chiefs are being misused is as ridiculous as it sounds. You know, I have seen some of these politicians warning me against meeting chiefs and so on. It's like, can you imagine warning the Minister for Health against meeting doctors? Or warning the Minister for Education against meeting teachers? So who do you want me to meet? My colleagues in the security sector are chiefs. In fact, hardly a day passes without me speaking to a chief, receiving a call from a chief, or a DC, or a county commissioner. These are my colleagues. These are the people we work with. So PS Kibicho and myself, we have been meeting chiefs all along. I was actually amused yesterday when one of those candidates was speaking from Trans Nzoia and warning me, warning PS Kibicho, warning our county commissioner in Trans Nzoia against meeting chiefs. I was in Trans Nzoia last year to meet chiefs. They themselves can tell you there wasn't a single political discussion in that meeting. We were meeting because of the data we had just received in relation to FGM and so on. And the chiefs are the people we are working with to deal with these issues. Every single national government policy that we are pushing at the grassroots level, we are working with the chiefs. 100% transition, the war against gender violence and FGM, now the triple threats, the surging numbers of HIV/AIDS and so on. We are working with the chiefs. Now, how is it that who am I supposed to meet if I'm not meeting the chiefs and I'm not meeting the county commissioners? So I don't want to speak in a stronger way than that and use stronger language than that, but it's frustrating and unfortunate that those who are saying those things are actually supposed to be leaders. But I have asked my colleagues, all chiefs across the country, all my colleagues in Ingao, national government administration, at all levels, assistant chief to county commissioner to regional commissioner. Ignore these people. We are not politicians. This country has been held together by the national government administration. In times like this, it is these security people who hold our country together. And they work so hard. Many of them hardly sleep. They work so hard to make sure that we are peaceful, to make sure that our country is stable, and we are moving forward to do what we have to do. Some of those claims are outrageous and ridiculous. None of us is doing any of those things. We are meeting chiefs because they are our colleagues. That is the work we do. They are the people we work with. I call chiefs. I will call them, and they will continue to call me, and we will continue to meet them until we leave the offices we are holding. When we leave these offices, then, you know, and those who come after us, surely, I don't see how they'll work without meeting with the chiefs. So it's foolhardy for anybody to say, oh, we are meeting chiefs because we meet chiefs all the time. That's the job we do. That's who we are supposed to work with. My sister, when I drove in this morning, we arrived here very early in the morning in Molo, around 7 o'clock. By that time, just imagine, it was around 7 o'clock in the morning, 2/3 of the shops in Molo town were open. Children were going to school. People were going about their activities. My faith is in the people of Kenya as a leader. Our people have come of age. Our democracy is mature. People can tell nonsense from, you know, all those kinds of things. And the claims that are being made around. Even the claim that you had yesterday that the leaflets were authored by people from the office of the president. Now, we have 8 suspects in police custody, and none of them is an employee of the office of the president. You know, some of our leaders look like they're inoculated against the truth, that they can never speak anything truthful. And then they keep imagining and saying things that they think make sense, when in actual fact, they can convince even a fool. The people of Kenya know what the truth is about these things. Let's just keep walking. That's why you have noticed that actually for this year, when you compare this election and 2017, I was even counting the other day, I have done less than half the press conferences I did in 2017 as acting Minister for Interior at that time. Why? Because my wonderful colleagues in the field have been doing their work quietly. They have been working with communities, with the Nyumba Kumi. Each one of these county commissioners you see here has created a multi-agency election preparedness committee in their counties. And this is what we worked on at the beginning. Each one of these county commissioners is meeting with religious leaders, civic leaders, Nyumba Kumi leaders, community policing, and everyone involved in their counties and discussing the peace and stability of their county. Each one of these county commissioners has pulled in their deputy county commissioners from the sub-counties who have replicated the same committees at the sub-county level. And all this work is going on. Kenyans are having conversations amongst themselves on their country, and they are focused on what they would like to see in their country. This garbage that's being spewed by politicians is just not going to affect our people. I am convinced, beyond any shadow of doubt. I have intelligence officers here who will tell you Kenyans are determined to be peaceful. They love their country. They want a peaceful country. And you will see, I don't think there's going to be any problem. By now, we'll have gotten information if there was going to be any challenge. Even though it took us hours to get a hold of those people, the suspects that we now have, we are not going to pass judgment on them. As a law-abiding government, we are going to take them to a court of law. That's what we are supposed to do. And then a decision will be made at that level, and we'll continue. We've done the best we can. Some of us hardly sleep because we are engaged constantly in conversations with fellow Kenyans on this. I'm confident because I have faith in the citizens of this country. We are going to have a peaceful election. Well, I could have launched it anywhere, but you see, the question is, we go by, about 3 years ago, 3 months ago, we started talking about areas where we think there are some vulnerabilities or some susceptibility to tensions and so on and so forth. And when leaflets came up, we thought that it's important we address any anxieties in this part of our country. Frankly speaking, we have stepped up deployment across the country. I was in Coast region 2 weeks ago, working with my colleagues there, Regional Commissioner John Erungata and the others, on how we can secure the entire of that coast region during this period of elections. Every area of our country has got unique needs and unique challenges depending on so many issues. So we go region by region. I mean, I could have done it in Mombasa, I could have done it in Garissa, but we chose to meet here with my colleagues because, first of all, this is our largest region. This is our most expansive region, as it were. This region has got 14 counties, and therefore it's only fair that we actually start in one of our largest regions. Northeastern has got only 3 counties. And so on and so forth. So we thought this is the most expansive part of our country, where we have 14 out of 47 counties to deal with the situation, and then the peculiar needs of this region to ensure that we are able to police it properly and manage it properly. That's why we came here.
And how will the cybercrime department at that angle of your department also help us?
Well, my colleagues at the NC4, the DCI himself, and the recently launched the cybercrime infrastructure with the forensic laboratory at DCI are doing a fantastic job. I think, because, I have to obey the law. I cannot speak for the DPP because that's an independent office. And I cannot speak for the DCI directly because of the things that the DCI would like to do. I am aware, for example, that the police through the DCI have opened up very serious investigations, following up several individuals who are spewing hate speech and so on and so forth. What we have resolved is we are going to live by the law. We will prepare our paperwork, we'll prepare the files, and turn them over to the DPP and ask that some of these people be prosecuted. Some people think that they will make certain statements or do certain things now, and they think that after the elections we will forget. Some of these crimes are not actually covered or affected by the statute of limitation. You can be prosecuted 2 years from now for some of the things you're engaging in at the moment. That's why we have resolved to ensure meticulous recording of what is going on around in some of these cases. Because I can tell clearly that some of the utterances that are being made by some people, including national political leaders, are going to be subject to prosecution at some point or other. And then they will be required as police department, for example, or will be required as a security sector people to provide support to that kind of prosecution. And we will. I want to pronounce myself, we will. We are determined to rid our country of that kind of recklessness and very responsible behavior on the part of political leaders. And you yourselves have seen some of the claims being made around here. I gave you an example. Or being warned against meeting chiefs and assistants. We have met chiefs all the time. That's who am I supposed to meet as Minister for Interior?
So will we see the internet shut down during the elections? Again, maybe the short area?
We will not. We will not resort to those type of, let me say, primitive acts that people elsewhere do. This is a mature country. I mean, we enacted a constitution that guarantees freedoms. We are a confident government. We are not a makeshift government that is intimidated by criticism. We welcome criticism. I've said several times before, no amount of it or no amount of insults, even against us leaders of this government, is going to tempt us enough to interfere with the freedoms of the people of Kenya. The Kenyans decided and gave themselves a constitution that guarantees freedoms. We are privileged to be their leaders, and we have a duty and an obligation to respect the constitution, and we will. We will manage this country very responsibly, because we know we are holding the positions we are holding in trust for the people of Kenya, for our children and our children's children. So we are not going to engage in activities that will claw back on the gains that we have made, or claw back on the freedoms of our people, and so on. What we ask is that people be responsible in the things they do, knowing as they must that the law draws a red line for all of us, including myself. None of us is above it. There are areas beyond which you cannot go, and people should think about the country. We have a country to build, we have a country to secure, and we have a country to preserve for our children and our children's children. This momentary excitement because of an election should not provide an opportunity for us to ban our country by making very reckless and very irresponsible utterances, or even actually blatantly lying to the people of Kenya. You know, like one leader was lying to the people of Kenya that we don't have national police reservists in the North Rift. The regional police commander is here. These people are here. They will tell you how many we have and so on, and work is going on. So let's be truthful people and do what we must do, knowing as we must at all times that we are privileged to hold these positions, and we are serving the people we are serving. And by the grace of God, we must all the time move this country to the next level for our children and our children's children. Thank you. That's it for today. But as I tell you all the time, my colleagues are here from the security sector. When you have an active investigation on a sensitive matter like that, we don't make sideline commentaries, because I don't want to interfere with the work that my colleagues are doing. Because when we get to a particular point where we feel we can give you an update, the regional commissioner for Rift Valley will give you an update. Give us hours. In a matter of hours, we will be somewhere with the investigation, and our regional commissioner will address you on that matter, or the regional police commander. Thank you.